Hey guys, Jeremy from Look At Outdoors, and got a couple of freshwater fishing trips coming up in some of these local ponds targeting bass, and kind of got a wild hair up my butt. After the relatively successful day I had on new water, I've decided to dig through the tackle box and pull out some stuff that I've had sitting around in the box for a while and haven't tied on and thrown, or I have tied on and thrown but I haven't been serious about it. Basically, it's the lures that I have and I just don't use. You know, I realized the other day watching the video from the furnace pond how reliant I am on a handful of techniques, and I wanted to change that. So let's talk about some of the stuff that I'm breaking out and I'm going to throw in my upcoming trips. And the first is just a standard, this is actually a football head jig. I have all of two of these. I'm told that these are amazing bass catching lures. I've seen the pros brag about them. You know, everybody I know has a jig story, and I have legitimately never tied on and thrown one of these. So I'm going to take these out and see what I can do. And the same note, I also have some swim jigs, and I don't even know why I ended up with so many of these. It had something to do with chasing redfish, and been looking forward to trying this one out. So I've got several swim jigs, and you'll notice, I don't know if I've discussed this before, that I'm using kind of this white, gray, and silver color that Strike King makes. White, gray, and silver. This white, gray, and chartreuse. And I think a big reason for that is I've used white spinnerbaits and I've used chartreuse, and I know that they're supposed to represent, like the chartreuse is supposed to be bluegill and more of a panfish, and the white is supposed to be more shad-like. I haven't seen any shad in these waters, but I know that there are some white colored and gray colored bait fish and smaller panfish, but I also like to have a little bit of chartreuse, so I'm kind of using this color to split the difference between the two and see if it does anything for me. As far as a trailer for these guys, I had a ton of leftover Matrix and Vortex shad that just won't do me any good up here. So I've went ahead and broke those out and put them on as trailers to the swim jigs. So that's another one that's going to go out with me. There we go. Of course I was standing up so you guys couldn't see it, but swim jig bass. And heard about these time and time again, but chatterbaits. You know, watching a lot of Louisiana Sportsman TV, and Greg Hackney throws these a lot, and the reason we bought them is there was a Louisiana Sportsman TV episode where they were catching redfish with these, and it seemed like a good idea. And to be honest with you, I've tied one on one time and threw it for maybe 5 or 10 minutes in conditions that weren't really conducive to actually catching fish, and didn't catch anything. So we're going to break these back out and start throwing them around. Ah, turd. Look at that. Where are you at? Come on, get up. Well, that's another decent fish. Oh. Yeah, that chatterbait ticks them off, don't it? I'm starting to really like these things. in the realm of things I should be ashamed of, I've never actually thrown a Carolina rig, so I don't have one to show you, but I've actually rigged one up to try that out. I'm not sure if that's going to work great this time of year. You know, it looks like there's going to be a lot of clean rocky bottom, but right now there's grass in places, so we'll see. I'm going to tie it on and throw it and see what we get. And the same for shaky head. I'm kind of excited about this one. I've had these shaky head jigs laying around, and I just like the idea of it, and I want to really give it a shot. And in that realm, I went out and bought a bunch of Rage Claws. I've never actually thrown a crawfish type creature bait. I've thrown lizards fairly successfully in City Park, but mostly I've stuck to, you know, stick worms, trick type worms, kind of the finesse, and just the basic U-tail worm. So this is going to be my first time throwing a crawfish shaped lure. Oh, there he is. There he is. Look at this. This poor guy has somebody else's fish hook in his head. We'll see how it goes. I may get a chance later to take another trip and we'll dig through the tackle box. There's several other things that I haven't thrown or I haven't thrown seriously that I hope to pull out over the next couple of days. And the game plan is to prove to myself that these things really work. You know, you can go to YouTube and YouTube any of these techniques and see a pro just tearing up fish with it, but I need to personally assure myself that I can use the techniques and I can get it done. And two, just to get out of the comfort zone. You know, I've kind of gotten bored with the same techniques over and over again, and they seem to work, but I'm not learning anything, and I feel like I'm not broadening my horizons enough. And without being able to look in the tackle box and pull out various different tricks like this, I just don't feel like I can call myself a good bass fisherman until I expand the amount of lures and techniques that I use to actually catch fish. And you know, water conditions here are different than they are in Louisiana. Not so much right now because of the grass and the foliage, but later in the fall and as we get closer to winter, these ponds have a lot of deep holes in it, and so I'm going to have to learn how to get down into deeper water that I'm not used to. In the next couple of trips, I'll be able to stay shallow and really focus on weeds and lily pads and that type of cover because it exists. But once all those die off and the water gets really cold, these fish are going to go deep, and I need to learn how to deal with it. So next couple of trips, guys, we're going to break out the weird stuff in my tackle box, the things that I've never thrown before, and we're going to see if we can make something happen. So stick with us, and worst case scenario, you get to watch me embarrass myself. Thanks, guys. So there's a couple of fishing trips in on this lures I rarely use experiment, and I wanted to take a second to revisit the jigs that I talked about earlier. The water in a lot of the places I'm fishing has the lily pad cover, and then underneath it, it has a pretty thick grass mat. It doesn't really reach the surface, and it's not in every spot, but there's a lot of really super thick grass and weeds and just muck in between the lily pads and the bottom. And what I found with the jigs is that I'm picking up just so much trash every time I pitch one that a Texas rig soft plastic being weedless is just working out so much better. So I'm still going to try the jigs, but right now, just in the circumstances I'm fishing, I'm finding that I get a lot better results out of a Texas rig. So that's a little bit cheating. I fished a Texas rig a pretty fair amount, but it is what it is. Right now the jigs just aren't working for me. I'm going to wait, and when the weeds die off, I'm going to pick them back up and see what we can do with them. In the meantime, I wanted to show you the last of my lures that you'll see in the video, and that's the Pop-R. This one was given to me by a friend in a box full of stuff. I've probably owned 3 or 4 of them throughout the course of my life, most of which rusted and molded away in the old school clamshell plastic tackle boxes. You know, I tied it on because I've had that weed line is often maybe an inch, 2 inches underneath the water. And I found that top waters are working for fishing fast over this weed bed. And the thought process when I stumbled across this one is I could fish it just a touch slower and it would still float just above the weed line. And so basically, as I went back and I fished it in the exact same places that I have fished a buzzbait in the past, and it worked out really well. I missed a lot of strikes in the video, and I actually caught a bluegill. And a lot of that was happening when it was sitting in the resting position. But what I noticed in a recent bluegill fishing trip is on several occasions larger bluegill attacked my cork before attacking my bait. So I'm wondering if some of what my missed fish were was when this was sitting still, if it wasn't attacked by a larger bluegill. Because in at least one instance I did catch a bluegill with this. So I was very happy with how well this worked. It was kind of fun to fish. It stayed in the strike zone pretty well. And basically it was 2 pops, let it sit for a second, and usually it was during that pause, give it 2 good pops and then a pause, and during that pause it got schwacked. And I think I caught 3 decent sized bass on that, and then the 1 bluegill, and I missed 3 or 4 fish. Wow. Wow. Man, I think this is one of the best bluegill I've caught in a long time. Hell, that's a good sized first fish. Should have put a front camera up so I could do an outro. "19 inches. So there you have it for kind of this round of lures that are new to me. I'm definitely sticking with the chatterbaits and the swim jigs. I have loved the way those have worked out. So those are definitely going into my arsenal. I'm still playing with the top water. I can't say that they're going to be my new go-tos, but they were fun and they do work, so they're going to stick in the tackle box. And I'm going to dig through my stuff in the coming weeks and see if we can find a few things that we can try. I know I have a drop shot tied, and I have a trip that I want to make to a much deeper pond with some smallmouths to where I'll throw my first drop shots and see if I can figure out how to do that. And you know, as the winter progresses and the water gets colder, or I guess as the fall progresses toward winter and the water gets colder, I'm also going to be breaking out some lipless crankbaits and breaking out my crankbaits. So we'll do another one of these in the coming weeks as I dig through my tackle box and find some new techniques. In the meantime, there you have it, guys. This is a whole series of new lures that I've played with, and I've got a big thumbs up for chatterbaits, and that was nerdy as hell. I apologize for that thumbs up. So there you have it, guys. I don't think I can recover from that one, guys. I like chatterbaits. I like the swim baits. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hey, Jeremy from Lucky Out Outdoors. And if you like what you see, make sure you click like on the video and subscribe to our channel. You can also check us out on Facebook and Instagram.